Okay, so as I said, today we're gonna start with the review from basically we can say from grade 8, 9, 10. So this way we can get you ready to start with grade 11, okay? A lot of stuff that we're gonna do in grade 11, especially the quadratic, is based a little bit on grade 10, based on, I would say, the last 2 or 3 chapters of grade 10, okay? But I will reteach if I have to, if I see that you guys are not, you don't remember them, okay? So we're gonna start with just defining what integers is, see how we can add, subtract, and multiply and divide integers. Do you guys remember what an integer is? What does the word integer mean? It's a whole number, that's right. So it's a number that does not have any decimals, okay? It could be positive, it could be negative, and it could be 0, okay? So an integer integers are the set of whole numbers which include positive numbers negative numbers and the number 0. When we talk about integers, the symbol for the word integer means I. Okay? So the symbol for the word integer is I, and then we can write it as I is, you can say negative. So all the numbers, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to the biggest positive number. What we call the smallest negative number, we call it negative infinity. Just in case you take the m anytime later on. And the biggest number, we call it positive infinity. So technically, we say that it's a set of whole numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity, okay? This symbol right here, which looks like an 8, but it's a sideway 8, that means infinity. Okay, so I is a set of whole numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity, including 0. Have you guys seen this notation before? This is a set notation, okay? A lot of time when we do domain and range, you use this set notation as well, okay? So remember, decimals with integers, it's only whole numbers. So let's say if I'm talking about population can be in decimals. You can't have quarter of a person, right? So it uses a set of whole numbers, right? If you're talking about number of chairs, right? Again, it's a whole number. So now we're going to look at adding and subtracting the integers. These should be like not new to you guys, but I would like to just go over them. So if the signs are the same, then the sum will have the. So let's say if you have, let's say 3 plus 5. Okay, what would your sum? What would the sign of the sum be? Positive. So because these two have positive signs, then your sum have the same sum. Okay, so positive and positive, you're going to add them together. They're going to give you positive 8. Are we okay with that? Now what happens if I have a negative 3 and I'm adding a negative 5 to it? It's going to be a negative 8, right? So what you're doing is you're still adding your integers, you're still adding the 3 and the 5, right? But it still have the same sign, which is a negative 8. If you're looking at the number line here, So a number line is a line. So this is a numbered line. You start at -3. And then you're adding -5. So that means you have to go in the left direction, right? So you have to go more into the negative. And then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're going to end up at -8. Okay? This is basically what this means if you're looking at the numbers. Are we okay with this?
I could have studied this last night instead of factors, but I'm okay with factors now.
That's good. Now, if the signs are different, so if you have, let's say, -3 plus 5, is it negative? So you owe me $3, right? But you gave me 5.
So now you over 2.
Now you're over 2, so that's a positive 2, right? Because the bigger number has a positive sign, right? So in this case, you're subtracting them, but you're going to end up with a 2. Okay? Now, if you had 3 plus -5, 3 plus -5, that is -2, right? Because the sum will have the sign of the larger number. Okay? The larger number is 5, it has a positive, so your answer is going to be positive. The larger number have a negative, so -5. Your answer is going to end up with a negative. Are you guys okay with this? Are we okay with this? I will show it to you. So now what happens when you're subtracting integers? Okay? So what happens if I have 3 take away -5? Let me give you an English example. What if I say I am not going to school tomorrow? What does that mean?
That you are going to school.
That you are going to school. So I gave you double negative, it became a. So what's going to happen here? You have a double negative, they're multiplied together, they're after each other. So I'm not, it's going to become I am. Okay? So a negative and a negative multiply, like after each other. They have to be after each other. They make a positive.
Is it multiplied because it's in the brackets?
That's right. So that negative is multiplied by that negative because you have a bracket. Even if you don't put it, technically if you don't put it, it's not mathematically correct because it's like writing an English sentence without a period, right? It's not correct, but it's still, this looks totally wrong and I can't see it. Sorry. But yes, if they're after each other, then that means they're multiplied and negative times negative makes a positive. Okay? So then becomes 3 plus 5, which is 8. Okay? So anytime, no matter where it is, so I can have this negative 3 plus 7. Okay, right? Because negative times negative makes a positive. So that's 3 plus 7, which is 10. Okay? have this? What do I have after each other? What are the two signs that are multiplied together? Minus and a positive, right? A negative and a positive. When I have a negative and a positive and they're multiplied together, it's going to be negative. Okay? So anytime you multiply a negative and a positive, you're going to get a negative. So that's going to be 3 minus 5, which is negative 2. Are you guys okay with this? Are we all okay? I like you guys to know these rules because, I mean, these things you can put on a calculator no problem. But when it comes to something like this, later on, how are you going to put that on a calculator?
Yeah, just do a switch. Just
Right? You
can't.
can't. So this is when you're going to use your knowledge. This is where you're going to use your knowledge to know that, wow, okay, I have two negatives after each other. That means it's a positive. So that means I have x squared plus x squared. Then we can do the math. You can add the coefficients. We'll talk about that here. Okay? But this is why I want you to know the rules, right? Because then later on when we use it with letters, you can't enter it in the calculator. Okay? All right. Moving on to multiplying and dividing integers. So the multiplying and dividing integers, they follow the same rule as like the multiplying and the division. They follow exactly the same rule. So if the two integers have the same sign, then the answer is positive. So if you have -3 times -5, when I have them in brackets like this, that means they're multiplied. Okay? There's a difference between this and this. This means I'm subtracting. This means I'm multiplying. Okay? This can be written in different ways. You can write it like this, or you can write it like so. Okay? Or also some people add brackets. Right? These are all the same thing. They mean the same thing. You're multiplying the -3 by the -5. Okay? So what happens when I multiply a -3 by a -5? What do I get? Positive, right? Yes. Because when you multiply a negative by a negative, you're going to get a positive. Are we okay with this? All right. Now, remember that if they have the same sign and you're multiplying them together, then you're going to end up with a positive answer. Okay? Same thing if I do 10 times 2. Right? 10 times 2 is positive 20. Right? Same sign. I'm going to end up with a positive. If the two integers have opposite signs, then the answer is going to be negative. example, if I have negative 3 times 5, I'm multiplying a negative by a positive, so my answer is going to be negative. What if I have 5 times negative 3?
It's the same.
It's the same, it's going to be negative. What if I have 3 times negative 5? It's going to be negative, right?
As long as you're multiplying a positive by a negative, it'll always be a negative.
That's correct. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing, and then I'll let you do some practice. Now, most of the time we don't really have two things that we're adding or multiplying or subtracting, right? Most of the time we have a full equation and then we need to isolate or we need to simplify, we need to put it all together. So when evaluating expressions, you need to follow the order of operation. The acronym that is used to help us remember the order of operation is BEDMAS, and I will explain what that stands for. Yep. So you always start with, let me write it right here. You always start with simplifying inside the brackets. Okay? So no matter, look at the brackets, look what's inside of them, and then simplify that first. Okay? You might have to show multiple steps, all right, to do that until you get too comfortable and a pro at it. Okay? Then you can do it all at once. So we start with brackets. E represents exponents. So anything that deals with, let's say, to the 4 to the power of 2, let's say. Okay? So you're going to have to do that next after the brackets. When you go division and multiplication, they go together depending on which one appears first. So in order from left to right. Which means if you have this, come on, this acts on me. If you have something that looks like this, you have to do the division first. So you do 6 divided by 2 first, then you multiply that answer by 4, right? Because you do 3 times 4, so 6 divided by 2 is 3, times 4, that's 12, right?
Can you show some, say it was the other way around?
I will give you another example. But if you don't do it in the order that you're supposed to, if you do 2 times 4 first, right, which is 8, and then you do 6 divided by 8, you're going to get a fraction, which is totally wrong because you're not following the order of operation. Okay? The order of operation says 6 divided by 2 first because that appears first. Now, What if I have this? 3 times 4 divided by 6. Okay? In this case, which one comes first?
Division?
Which one is appearing first as we go from left to right? Multiplication, right? Multiplication comes first. 3 times 4 is 12.
Oh, what happened there? Your pen.
Just the pen is too sensitive sometimes. So you have 12 divided by 6, which is 2. Okay? Otherwise, if you do 4 divided by 6, that's going to give you a fraction. Multiply by 3, that's going to stay a fraction. Okay? Which is not the right answer in this case. Okay? So always start with whatever appears first.
So that's one way to get it, like the 3 times 4.
Yeah. So 3 times 4, that's 12.
Yeah, but how do you get 3 times 4?
Oh no, that's a different example.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just giving you 2 different examples here,
Okay.
just to see how you should do the order of operation.
So left to right, regardless if it's division or multiplication, you do the first one.
That's
first.
correct. Only with division and multiplication. When we get to addition and subtraction, we'll talk about
See,
that.
there's multiplication first.
Eh,
You have to do either division or multiplication before you do addition and subtraction. Okay? So if division appears first, you do the division first, and then you do the multiplication. If the multiplication appears first, then you do the multiplication and you do the division. Okay? So the division and multiplication are interchangeable, whatever comes first. Then we have, after that, we have the addition, subtraction, same idea. Addition, subtraction, whatever comes first. Yeah. So you're gonna hear me using this acronym too often.
Can I just have, no, now isn't there not another acronym that's used in American math?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
called something with a P. It's because they don't use brackets, they use parentheses.
Yes.
This is what they call it, so it's called headmath, I think.
I think they call it 5 months.
I don't
Is
know,
that-
I don't know, but it's the same, exactly, it follows the same procedure. They can call it whatever they want to call it, it's like, when you have English and British and American and whatever, right? So
Right.
they change things.
Right.
We just use the Canadian way, which is
I don't understand how the English come up with a fortnight, because someone said to me, oh, we'll be here for a fortnight, I didn't have a clue what they meant. Do you know what a fortnight is?
What is it?
2 weeks, a fortnight. Yeah. Didn't know that.
That is. Okay, so let's look at the examples. So for the first example, remember that what's the first thing that we start with? Brackets. That's right, brackets. So you have to do inside the brackets first, right? So if you look at inside the brackets, I have -7 plus 2. Right, so I have to solve that first, so that gives me -5. And then multiply by 4. I'm gonna just remove this equal sign from here. When you're writing an equal sign, when you're writing Okay. I'm gonna teach you the method because it's very important. It's like writing a paragraph or anything like writing a sentence in English, right? Same thing with math. There's rules that we have to follow. In math, sometimes you see me writing it, but I shouldn't be doing it. So in math, let's say if you have 7 plus 3 times 2 is equal to 7 plus 6 is equal to 13. This is not appropriate. Okay? In math, you can't have an equal sign on the same line. 2 equal signs the same. Okay? So this is not correct, technically. Okay? Technically, I should start a new sentence, and then you start a new sentence with an equal sign. Okay? And then you go, okay, 7 plus 6. And then you start a new sentence with an equal sign, and then you put your final answer. Okay? The only time that you can actually put it next to each other is right here. Let's say if I started you with what's 7 plus 6, right? You can right away put the equal here and then write 13. Okay? That's fine. But technically, in math, we should always start our sentence with an equal sign. Okay? And we can't put 2 equals on the same line. Okay?
So
I won't be picky on that, but I would like you to know it because in college they will be picky.
So, the first example there, you would put equals beside bracket.
That's right. Equals at the beginning. of
And
the
then the
sentence.
next part, do it again. Like when you're
That's
doing
right.
the next part, yeah.
Yep. So that would be negative 20. You'll see a lot of these if you are on social media, and if you some people share these, right? They share like on Facebook, right? They're like, can you try to solve this? And then they will have things like this, and then they will be fighting over is it at 1 or is it negative 4 because the order of operation. And then one time I have actually got into someone sent me one, and I was doing it. And then I had 2 different calculators. One calculator gave me an answer, entered exactly the same way. The other calculator gave me another answer. And the problem is how the engineering have programmed it. Because technically, if you have this, or if you have this, yes, they're both multiplication, but if they come in the same sentence, in the same equation, you must do this first before you do this because of a bracket. Okay? But we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to have these in our.
So, how would we solve
You would, well, it would be a total, like a whole sentence, right? It won't be something like this. So it would be, let's say if I have 2 times, let's do 20 divided by 4 times 5. Okay? Because it's written this way, I have to do the 4 times 5 first. Because they're bracket times a bracket. Because it says bracket first. Right? So, you see how I told you division times division and multiplication depending on which order they appear in? In this case, no. Because this has brackets.
It overrules
right?
the
It
other order.
overrules the division. So it will be 20 divided by 20, which is 1. You must do the 4 times 5 first. Okay? Now, if this was written 20 divided by 4 times 5,
You do the division first.
you do the division first because the division is appearing before the multiplication. So you do 20 times 4, which is 5, times 5, which is 25. You see the difference in the 2 answers? And here, you see the difference in the 2 answers? And then I had two different calculators, right? And then I put them in both calculators, and one gave me 1, the other one gave me 25.
So which one's right?
Both of them are right.
Okay, which one's right? If you're writing your MCAT, this answer is alright. I went online and I researched it. They will take this and not that. If you want to go into the rules and deep into the rules, this is the right answer.
Why is there gray area?
I didn't come up with these rules.
Can I see
I
the
just
left
need-
side? I just want to
Yeah.
do the bracket part, just to yeah, thanks.
That's fine?
Yeah, okay.
I just teach them. I would like to research them. Not now. Okay, so let's look into the next equation. So I have 3 plus 16 divided by 2 squared times 5 minus 4. Where do I start? Exponents. I don't have any brackets, so I can forget about that. I have to go to the exponent. So first thing that I want to do is I want to change that into what's 2 squared? 4. So 2 squared is 4. What will be my next step? Yes, I have to do the division because division comes first. So 16 divided by 4, 4. What's next? Multiplication. I have 4 times 5, which is 20. And then I have to go from left to right. So 3 plus 20, and then take away 4, which is 9. Now later on, when you get used to this, you can skip some steps and you can go, okay, 2 squared is 4, 16 divided by 4, that's 4, 4 times 5 is 20, and then you can put it all together. So
You don't mind, do we have to show, or is it okay later on that we don't show?
later on, it's okay if you don't show, as long as you know that you for sure you're getting the right answer. The problem is, if you don't get the right answer, right, I can't give you part marks, right? But if you're showing this and then you made a little mistake somewhere, I can still give you the part marks.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
So it's better to show your work.
It's better to show your work in every single. I have one of my memes there. Did you seriously just ask the math teacher if you have to show your work? This is one thing that you should not ever ask, right? Because the only way you can get part marks in math is if you show your work. The minute that you just give me an answer, right? You're only gonna get a mark on your final answer, which is worth probably half a mark out of 4.
But you'll be quite impressed if we do that and not get the wrong
But,
answer.
yeah, well, with these, yes, but at the same time, like if I'm asking you a word problem and then you're just throwing at me an answer, I'll be like, okay.
Are you using a calculator?
Not even. Did you copy that off of someone? Like I would start thinking, like, where do you get that from? I need to know, right? I'm not testing you on if you can find the final answer. I'm testing if you know the process. All right. Are we okay with this? Okay. How about if I stop this?